Hello, fellow map makers. Welcome to tonight's live map making session. Hope you're fine wherever you are and your weather is not too bad. We've just been talking about the local weathers on the YouTube chat. So that's there in my mind. Looking outside the window, it's still raining here in Germany, but it's supposed to get better tomorrow. We are looking ahead to a sunny stretch, which is nice. It's been a cold and wet spring here so far. Oh, first off, let me apologize quickly for last week's rather unfortunate turn in the live mapping session where I had some problems with the map I was creating, and that's the reason the last week's video is not available on the YouTube channel at the moment. I've got to redo at least some of that at some point, and not as a live video, just as a tutorial video or something like that. So for now, I thought it was just mostly too confusing for someone to really learn from it. So I kept it off the playlist. Anyway, let's hope it works better today, and we get to create a nice little map with something new to learn tonight. I'm Ralf Schermann from Fantasy Software, and tonight I want to show you one of the material in one of the very early Cartographer's annual issues, actually from June 2007, where we introduced some Parchment backgrounds and templates that had those set up for map making. And while the annual overall is pretty old and some of the things you do differently today, the material is still very useful, and I want to show you how to make use of it today. Alright, so we've got our Parchment example background here up on the screen, and there's basically two ways we can make use of the resources. We can either draw a map based on one of the templates that came with the annual, which already have the parchments included, or we can import those into one of the newer maps and add them to an existing map style. Put the map we've created on a parchment background as a player handout or nice illustration, something like that. And I want to show you both tonight. So let's start by taking a look at the templates that came with the original Cartographer's annual issue. Good, so we're gonna go up here and click New Map button, and the Parchment templates were made available for two different map types, both for dungeons and for overland maps. Let's take a look at the overland maps first. And if I keep our usual decide settings myself setting, do this first and take a look, you'll find the style down here under annual Parchment maps. Oh no, that's actually not the right one. I think might actually only have been in the dungeons style. Let's take a look there. Annual Parchment dungeon, and that's the one I was looking for. Exactly, here it is. I think the the overland style only had the fixed templates. So we'll take a look at this first, and if you click next, you'll see that we do have a parchment background with a typical layout, but a little bit of a smaller size. Back then, we didn't create all the maps in the default 1000 by 800 units size. So you can see this is a lot smaller actually. But this is just fine. You can update the size as you need it, making it larger and smaller, just as you require. But you'll notice that they have a fixed relation of X and Y dimensions. They will automatically be in that 5:4 ratio. And if you then click next again and don't click finish right away, you can switch between the different parchment backgrounds for the map. See, quite a few were published with the annual issue, always in a more saturated color scheme and an aged color scheme with a desaturated look. And you can switch between all these different ones for the background of the map here. And we can go on and create a standard map from here, but I also wanted to show you the different way to start a new map, not via the adjustable size template, but by using a predefined template. That's because these Parchment background templates were created with some more elaborate borders and layouts, and you can see them here with like a broken up parchment in little pieces. And these are too complex to be workable in the template wizard with the adjustable sizes, so you will have to have a fixed template, which are these here. We've got these very much broken up ones, and these with the more ragged edges only, and all also in a variety of different texture backgrounds. And I wanted to grab one of these, or actually we can go back, just restart the new map here, and check the same in the overland maps. See, there we do have the same templates in for the overland maps as well. So let's grab one of these. And here we are with the template. Fixed size, so if you want you can turn on the grid and check the size of this template, but this will probably be the same as the default size as the one in the template wizard. 124 units, and it will be 100 units in the up and down direction. Yes, here we are. And you can just use the normal symbols in here as usual. You might have to check whether all the symbol sheets are in here. You need everything because it's a fairly old template, so you might not have all the different sheets and layers that more current templates have. But you can just now go in here and add, for example, mountain range. Also one of the things, because it's not the 1000 by 800 standard size, the symbol size will be very large by default. So what we can do, we can set our size here by right-clicking with the symbol selected. So let's say 1.25 symbol size is our default. Yeah. Okay. One of these weird things already. Why is the symbol still that large? Let's take a look and set the default size to because I put in the wrong number. It should not be 1.25 but 0.125 to be smaller. Set normal, and now we do have a better size. This is actually my 0.125 is actually very small, as you can see, so we could make this double this size to 0.5, and this works quite well for this demo map. See, that way you can draw the mountain range here. And make this the default size, quarter of the standard 1.0 size. Okay, we've got a few questions in here. Just a reminder while I'm looking at them that you can post questions anytime in the YouTube chat. And Sue will collect them and forward them to me. And she got the questions whether I could scale up the map or whether that would wreck the setup. No, you can just scale up the map if you want to. For that to do, it's best to just make sure all the layers are thought, which they are, and then use the non-visual scale command. If you right click on the scale button, select everything and then put in the scale, like scale double the size, scale 2, as the scale center, 0, 0, 0 as the origin point. And that way you see we've got the same map just scaled up. Let's undo this for now, keep this scale I was using from the start. And I just wanted to put in a few things in the default overland style here, which is the setup for the template. Let's put in a little bit of a forest. Let's outline the forest just to give the map some stuff. River. Zoom in a bit and put in a city and a tower. And we can also put in some background textures. Got some scrub here. Oh, yes, you can see not all of the fill styles are actually defined in that old template. That's why they are grayed out here. So farmland is not available by default. And we can put in some scrub background. Let's see. Which is actually above the river, if I see that, the terrain. Forest, yeah. Oh, so we gotta move this up. It's not set up to be on the land features sheet, but on the terrain first. And here we are. So that should be enough to just give you an impression how the map style looks on the Parchment background. And now let's get to some of the more specific details that we can add to the Parchment here, because it's not just the backgrounds and map templates we have with the annual issue, but also some extra symbols and materials to pretty up our maps. Joe has the question whether there's a master index that shows all the annual numbers corresponding with the annuals so that you can purchase. We do have a list of all the annuals with the content on the forums. Sue collected that at some point, very useful. Or was it Remy? I'm sorry if I'm mistaken there for the moment. But I'm not sure it does have all the numbers specifically. Basically, it's probably going to be useful at some point because it's a lot of numbers by now. It's all basically you divide by 12 to get the volume that the annual is from, because they're all consecutively numbered through the years. Okay, it was Sue who put the list of annuals together. Good, so I remembered correctly. Very nice. Thank you, Sue. So I was gonna load up the symbols that came with this annual issue. For that, you'll have to just click the open button and then go to your C3 Plus program data folder, and then the symbol subfolder, other, and there we have the CR06 Parchment. So how to get to the volume? You divide by 12, round up, That's 6 divided by 12 rounded up is 1. So you are at volume 1 for the annual volume that this style is from. That was easy, wasn't it? It's going to be get more complicated when we get to volume 8, 9, and so on. Good. Yeah, you can see we have some stains and symbols that you can put on the map. This is because the idea was originally that you'd create a parchment that perhaps was used for something else, before the map was created, and then the original text or drawing or whatever was scraped off, like people used to do in the Middle Ages when parchment was very valuable, or the parchment was handled inadequately and got wet, got a stain, or some adventurer dribbled some blood on it, or something like that. And you can put that on the parchment. And for that we do have the symbols. And you do need to go into the sheet effects and select the appropriate sheet. So I'm going to go to background stains. And then you can choose a color for the stain. I tend to use something similar to the parchment background, so some brown for this here. And just grab the button, the symbol, put it on, and refresh. And you can see that blur and transparency effect blends the whole thing into the background. So if you wanted to do a blood stain or something, you could take some red, put that on, and then you'd have a reddish stain on there. You can also, there's some burn edges and stuff, so if you want to set a dark brown color, take one of the burn edges, scale it up, and you don't need to fit the edge exactly. You can just overlap this here a little bit down at the bottom, do a refresh, and you see the map screen will hide the outer edge of the stain or burn. Using the arrow keys now to align this to another edge. One here on this side, this is a big one. Here we go. Refresh and put some more irregular darkenings on the edge. What you can also do, you can go in and on the background take a look at the glows. These are the slight dark edge that is visible on the outer side, and this is the inside one which we are looking for, and we can increase the blur radius. Let's take a look and see, make it darker that way. I'm going to make it even larger. It gets very dark. You can decrease the strength if you want to make it not quite as dark, and this way make it look older, more darkened at the edges. And you can also, if you go in and choose the text here, background text sheet, put some old symbols on, and then perhaps add some text. Let's choose the text properties first, and then put in some text. Oop, this is fairly large. Actually, with the layout of the default sheet, this will of course go on the text sheet. So what you need to do is move to sheet, take the text and put the text on the background text sheet. And see, that's still very readable, so we might want to make it even less visible, with going down to 20% opacity and perhaps even a little bit more blur. And there you can see, you can now draw your map over this and have this show up through gaps where there's nothing drawn on the map. And give this just this nice little extra touch to the background of your map. Good. So the problem is we are fairly limited with the styles we are for the templates. We have two different templates. Oh, the cat is here, just saying hello to Asa for a moment. Thank you for not surprising me too badly. Jumping on the table from the back. And the two styles, the overland style is in the CC3 default CC3 overland style, and the dungeon template is in the Dungeon Designer 3 default style. And these are, you can change them of course, but they contain only the bitmap fills for those respective styles, and as you've seen for this one, not even all of them. By default, that's simply because the templates are so old. And what if you wanted to use one of these Parchment backgrounds with one of the newer styles? That's where the other method of using them comes in. Let's take a look and see how we can apply these to different style. For doing that, I'll start by cutting out everything from this map. Let's save it first. Go to our working folder, if I can find it. Where's my video folder? Oh, never mind. Let's put it in here. Can always find it later. And there's my videos. Fantasy streams, Parchment backgrounds, and let's call this just Parchment. And have a look at the sheets. You see lots of the standard sheets in there for the map making, which we all don't need for the moment. We just need the background sheets and the foreground sheets. These are the ones that basically define all the Parchment stuff. So we're gonna delete all the stuff in between, as well as this symbol sheet. See, we still got all the stuff we've put in the map so far. Gonna save this, and then we're gonna switch to another map of sample map I've chosen. And this is from one of this year's annuals, the Fantasy Town style, and I'm gonna take this map and put it on a Parchment background. So how do we do that? We're going to start out with the map here, and we're going to remove the map border and the background for the moment. So because that's the stuff we want to replace with our Parchment material. We can, always a good way to select this stuff is to hide everything else. And see, that's the green background we don't want. And we're just going to erase that, as well as the map border and the screen. Oops, there's more stuff on here. Let's show everything else again. And we see now we've just got the individual entity stuff, the terrains and symbols, all that on the map. And we want to just copy the Parchment material over. For that, we'll just gonna grab everything with the clipboard copy command. So I'm using Control C, or so you can see it from the menu. Copy, select everything, press D for do it, choose 0.0 as the origin point, and switch to our other map. And here I'm going to do paste, so Control V, edit, paste, and you can see if you can see the outline at my cursor, this is of course a lot smaller than the map I'm pasting it in, because the template was so small. But that's no problem, I can just simply scale this by holding down the Control key and moving the mouse up. You can see there's my map growing, my insertion, and I could of course go in and measure stuff and fit it exactly to the size of this map, but for the Parchment background it's actually a rough approximation is just enough. We don't need to be super exact here, just a little bit larger than our existing map, and then paste it at 0.0. Here we go. And, oh well, that doesn't look too good now yet, does it? That's because not everything is in the correct order. Stuff where we already had the sheet in the new map with the same name, for example the background sheet, then our Parchment background goes on the same sheet and is already in the correct location. But sheets that were not already in the map go at the end of the list and therefore will be above everything else, like the background stains and the text stuff. So what we do, we just move this up all the way to where it belongs. That's the background text. And the background stains. Background city is from the template, from the map that we put this in, so this should be above the other stuff. And this already looks a little bit better, but you'll notice that the stains are not correctly faded into the background yet, like the blood stain and the text. That's because what we did not copy over is the sheet effects. We do need to copy these separately. So for that we go back to the original map and go to the sheets we want. Let's start with the background stains, so we see that most easily. Unfortunately, you have to do this sheet by sheet. You can't copy multiple sheets from the effects from multiple sheets at once. You could transfer all of the effects by saving this as an effect preset and loading it into the other map, but then you'd override the maps and the effects in the other map, and that's not what we want. So to merge this, we have to do this a little bit step by step. We just go in here, select the stains, paste the effects, take a look. Because the size is different, it may actually look different, but I think now the effects were set up quite neatly in a way to be relative to the map size. That way they stay the same visually. Doing the same for the background text sheet. Nope, that's the color, not the sheet. Here we go, paste. Then the background with the glows. Here we're gonna, if there was an existing sheet effect for that template, we would replace this, but there isn't one, so we just paste in the new ones. Oh, I think that's not the, perhaps I misclicked here. Let's take a look. Glow, should be glow effects. Copy. Then go to the other map again. Paste, that looks better. See, now we see the darker edges on the background. The foreground is used to create the cutouts and ragged edges. So we're gonna add these effects as well. Paste. And we could increase because we increased the darkness and size of the outer glow on the background sheet, we should probably do the same on the ragged edges here, because they make up the same border. They're just entities on a different sheet, but they should have mostly the same effects. And then the foreground screen sheet, just a blur effect. And there we go. Here's our map. The few things that are now visible are, or that's probably more visible if I turn off the effects for the moment, is we can see the bright green rectangle that defines the map border. That's because it's in front of the parchment here. What we can do, or we can take a look at this, whether it's on the same sheet, could be on a different one as well, depends on the template. It's actually on the terrain sheet. Interesting. Well, I think we can just erase that by color. Oh, that's the color one. Let's take a look. Yeah. There we go. Since we are not going to be drawing on the map anymore, we can remove that entity. And then we do need to do a few little adjustments, like moving text that's just beyond the map border. So if we can just grab the text here, move, select the text, this one as well, just move it a little down here so it's visible on the complete sheet effect. And there's a little bit of text here. That's actually the rib of the map border could go through the text, and it's not too bad here, so we can just leave this as is. And there we do have the map on the parchment background. Looking quite nice. We can print these, export it as a bitmap. What we do still have from the hills on the maps, some of the stuff is extending a bit beyond the screen of the map border, the white rectangle that hides the edges. So if we want to get rid of that, we can do this by moving the edges a little bit. What I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on the grid effect, and to see where my screen entity is that hides the effects, I'm going to change the window color so it's not also white. So I'm going to go to View Window Color, right click and choose a different color. And that way you can see our screening entity. That's the rectangle that extends, or that covers the map edges, hides sheet effects like glows and that extend outwards from the border, and here the hill polygons. So we can just use the stretch command to move these a little bit. We can't just simply scale it, because that would scale the interior of the screen as well, which would then not match the map border anymore. So we're going to use the stretch effect, reshape, there it is, reshape, stretch, select the entity we want to stretch, press D for do it, then we've got to grab the nodes we want to move, and this is these two corners of the rectangle, and then just define our distance and direction, and the map gets, the screen gets larger. Same here on the other side. Stretch this to here, then make it a bit larger so we can probably properly stretch it upwards as well, and the same downwards. Do it and there we've adjusted our screen size. Then we can switch the view window color back to white, color 15. And there we got the little bits of the hill sticking out from the matte edges, nicely hidden. And there's our map. Now if you want to do stuff like making more things merge more into the map, like if you didn't want the fields to be as strongly colored, you could go in and take a look. Where's our sheet for that? That would be the fields sheet, and add a transparency effect, either by just adding a blend mode effect, or we could just use a transparency effect, transparency here, or the easiest in this case, we can just edit the edge fade effect and set the inner opacity to 75%. That way we don't mess with other effects or anything, and the fields will merge more strongly into the texture background. Yes, just seeing a question by Remy, do Germans have ghost cats? I certainly do have ghost cats. My old cats that in their time have died while they were with me just still roam my apartment. I see them occasionally from the corner of my eye. And also if I have to take Asa away to a friend for a holiday or something and I'm here alone for a night, then I see her ghost lingering and peeking at me from the shadows. But the other question by Jeffrey, whether the parchment pieces, missing parchment pieces, are on a layer that is on top of everything else. Yes, this is something else I wanted to show you. These are pieces that are on a sheet on top, which is the foreground ragged screen sheet. Let's hide some of the other stuff, or hide everything else. And there you can see them already because of the sheet effects they have applied. We can also, to make them more easily visible, even without effects visible, we can again change our view color to something else, which is something I recommend anyway. If you're working with a lot of white, either in your current map or in the specific part of your map you're working on, so it can be useful to just switch your drawing window color to something else so you can see all the white entities, otherwise they would be hidden on the white background. And what you can do here, you can just grab the properties with the extract properties command from one of the existing entities and draw a tier in the map. Oh, turn off snap, otherwise it's a very regular tier. And just draw a little, oops, and there I accidentally hit the right click button and was a bit quick with finishing my polygon, so I'm just gonna add some nodes here, make it a little less obvious, and then show everything else again. don't need to hide everything for that once. And you can see now we've got a tier in our map. And that way you can modify the edges, put in holes into your map, obscure certain important parts if you want to hide something on a map that your players found in the game, and the map might have just been destroyed at that point, and put in the specific hole by drawing a white entity on top of it. For example, if I say I wanted to make this a burn mark, I could first draw a little white hole, and then I could add a new sheet. So let's, to keep in the naming scheme, let's call it foreground burn mark. Okay, move this entity to that sheet, and then I'm going to grab the sheet effects from the ragged sheet, paste it into burn mark, and now I'm going to make the glow effect much stronger. No, still not strong enough. What's this also? Well, this is a very, very weak effect. So let's just take a look at this and make this. Let's have a look. I see much stronger. A little bit too strong now. So let's make it 50%. No, it's not how I want it yet. Just experimenting with the sizes and strengths here a bit. Some of these effects are it's a bit strange. The displays might be a bit off. There's too much shift from one setting to the other. If Joe sees this, perhaps he can shed some light on this at some point. The difference is so big between 60 and 65%. Well, let's leave it at the 60% here. That's already a nice burn mark. We could, what you also always can do if you want to modify this a bit more, add another glow effect. Make that straight black, not brown or anything. And this, but this a bit smaller. Or perhaps my drawing extent might be a bit off. Oh, that's pretty good. I like that. That looks good. That looks like a proper burn mark. And now you can export this, and you could also, because the edges are very strongly defined, you can go in and select the white color in something like Photoshop or so, and then remove that to get a partially transparent PNG. That's one of the limitations of Campaign Cartographer, that it yet so far can't export images with an embedded transparency in them. You have to do these in an external bitmap editor, but this would be easy to do in Photoshop or something like that, grabbing the white outline color and the white holes and removing those pieces of the bitmap. Yes, as Remy also says, the effect is basically it's an 8-step, and you go into we translated that into a percentage scale to make that a bit easier to use, but it's still effectively in 12.5% stages, because it is the original eight different stages for the effect of the glow here. So that's why 12.5% is one step, then the next is 25, then 37.5, and so on. But still, between two steps, the effect difference there was fairly large, I thought. But nevertheless, this is good enough as it is. So let's actually already worked quite a bit quicker than I expected. So to show a bit more, I can show you the template with the more ragged look, like little pieces, different pieces of the map just left over from a strongly corroded piece of paper. So let's save this, and for now click a new map. Again, choose the predefined templates, and now I have to, here are the parchments. Let's grab a different one this time, this one, and here you can see all the little ragged holes, and it's actually in 4 large and a few smaller pieces. And here I can also show you, if I change the window color and hide the background and the foreground screen, you can see these. This is the stuff that is on the foreground broken sheet, and that basically hides stuff like that. That makes it easy to just draw stuff on this map, because the ragged pieces will obscure the stuff hidden behind it. So there's no need to actually stick to the exact corners here. So if we now go to symbols, and we can actually, because the symbol sheet is added to this, and let's put this up to the symbols here just above the symbols back sheet. The template is not set up with just the pure symbol sheet. It just has the symbols back and the symbols font sheet, which is not something we would do today. That's why just adding a symbol without selecting a symbol sheet first, it just adds the plain symbol sheet at the end of the list of sheets. Or maybe we draw the mountain range here now, and then do a redraw. You'll see that the gaps will nicely obscure the symbols behind. And that way you can just draw your map as you go along. You could even go in and, while you're drawing, hide the foreground screen sheets and just draw your map like any other campaign cartographer map, and then later just show these again, and you'd have the torn and ragged look of the map as it is intended by the template. Yeah, good point by Sue there with the exporting. If I load up the map again that I had previously, oops, no, I do not want to save the changes. There we go. Turn on sheet effects again. Here's our nice map. Save as a PNG, rectangular section PNG. I almost always export by using the rectangular section and not the whole map, because that way I can precisely define which part I want to export, including the whole thing if I want to, or just excluding parts. Under options, do not turn on anti-ILS. Basically, it's just doing something for you that you can also do in a later Photoshop bitmap editing program like Photoshop, like making it a bit smaller and blurring it while doing it. So what if I wanted to have a stronger anti-alias of that, I just exported a slightly larger map and then make it smaller in bitmap editing program. That way I have more control over the whole process. But that's just me. You can also, of course, use the anti-alias function. But in this case, it will basically soften and blur the edges of the whole map if you do that, making it harder to just grab the white area outside of the map. So just not do anti-alias here and choose save. Now I'm gonna define my export area, making sure I get full white background at the edges. Just a quick export. Here we go. Photoshop should be up in any second. Here we are. Just have to resize that for the video output. And here you've got the white background, and you can just use something like the magic wand tool. Actually, I do not want to select the text, so I have to make sure I'm just grabbing adjacent connected areas. Then I'm just invert the selection. Extract it from the map, paste it back in. That way I have it as a fresh layer in Photoshop. Remove the old background, and now I have a transparent background of the map. I can go in and cut off any excess transparent pixels at the edges. Sorry for everything being in German. My Photoshop is set up in German interface. And there we go. That would be our transparent edges, transparent holes bitmap exported from Campaign Cartographer. Good, and I think that's it for today. Let's turn my window color back to 15. See, no big mess ups like last week, all quick and easy. All right. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll make the map available from the video description later, so you can download it and check it out if you want to. And have a nice evening, and see you again next week. Bye bye. Thank you for joining us.